What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at 3 different variations of what I like to call the crouching spider pose, like this guy here. I'm going to give you a breakdown and insight into what you got to do and things to be aware of if you're wanting to attempt a pose like this. So if that's cool with you, do us a favor, hit that like button, notification bell and subscribe to the channel, and let's get to it. Okay guys, so here they are. The Iron Spider from Infinity War, the black and gold suit from No Way Home, and the upgraded suit from Far From Home. Now, I love to come up with poses for Spider-Man figures, but generally I never leave them in very stressful poses for too long. When I have done these types of poses in the past, I would take them out of it after filming or photography. However, as I have a fair few Spideys now, I wanted to come up with some iconic looks that I could leave certain figures in, most likely long term on the shelf, in what I like to call set and forget type of poses. Which brings me to the crouching spider poses here. As mentioned in the intro, I have 3 different variations that I'm probably going to run with for these 3 figures. So in this video I'm going to show you some angles of each pose, including the best angles to view it from, as well as the not so good angles, while I break down how I did them and the risks involved. So be warned, these poses are quite extreme and do contain risk of damaging the figure if you push it too far and or leave them in it for a long period of time. Kicking off with the Iron Spider. I just did this pose recently for my episode of On the Shelf Infinity War display. That video is out now, so check that out after this if you haven't already. This I'd say of the 3 is the least stressful on the suit, and that's due to my using of the steel beam accessory that we have him resting on with his left hand here. By changing the angle he's balancing, this allows him to be up a bit higher, meaning I don't have to crunch the torso, hips and knees as much. One of my reasons for doing that is due to the material of this suit being different than his regular Spidey suits, and I didn't want to push this one too far in case I were to change it up down the line. However, you could still argue that this is pushing him too far already. Now, when it comes to posing a Spider-Man figure like this, using something for him to balance on is a good starting point, so you don't need to get too drastic when it comes to pinching of the suit in the hips and knees like you do with the other 2 variations. These points are the ones that take the most punishment in a pose like this generally. And when it comes to the spider legs, you really can pose them in any position you like. For me on this one, I chose to put them like this, which might not look as good from this angle here, but does look good from the angle that we view it from the shelf on. In saying that, I imagine in the future I will tweak this pose by changing the placement of the spider legs to freshen it up. Okay guys, here we have the black and gold suit with the magic gauntlet from No Way Home, in probably one of my favourite poses I've done with a Spidey figure. To be fair, this figure is the reason I decided to make this video at all, as I'm in the process of laying out my Tom Holland trilogy display. I'd been toying with how I would be posing this guy, so going off where I decided he would be on the shelf, it was deemed I was to have him low down and in front, and this is the one I settled on after experimenting with a few other variations that I'll show you. Originally, I came up with this pose first. Now looking back, I wish I had taken more pics and angles of this one. However, I did try to replicate it with the upgraded suit, which you'll see next. When articulating this guy, I found him more flexible and the suit more forgiving for some reason than the red and black or the red and blue. Word to the wise, if you are wishing to replicate this look, take into consideration this exact look here is dependent on the viewing angle, because he might look badass here, but from other angles, not so much. Moving on to the second iteration of the pose, where all I did was change the upper body and the viewing angle. The lower body didn't change at all. The big difference is the position of the upper torso, with the shoulders being more level and visible facing us now, which in turn changed how I had to position the head completely as well. The other difference, if you compare it to the last pose, is also the right arm placement and where you view it in unison with the right leg. If you check both one after the other, you'll see the difference. Lastly, I played around by having the left arm out and the hand flailing a bit to convey a bit of a flow. Now, back to the final look I settled on when posing this guy. This one came off the back of the last look. what I changed from there was bringing him lower to the ground even more, and I did that by really pushing the material in the thigh area of the right leg by getting it up toward the belly, and the left leg by slowly continuing to see how far I could kick it out to the side and twist it to get the foot placement flat on the ground. Then I decided to bring the left arm in and really relax it, showing him balancing on just 3 points, being the right toes, left foot and right arm. Now, I'm going to show you the not so pretty angles here so you can see how the figure looks from both sides. The first glaring thing you're probably going to notice is the head placement. From this angle here you can see his head isn't properly on the neck, and the reason for that is when you have the head down on tight to the neck, you just can't get him looking up at us like you can with it like this. For a low down pose like this, the head placement and direction Spidey is looking is key to selling a dynamic spider-like pose. If you don't in fact do it like this, he'll be looking down at an awkward angle, and that completely changes the look of the pose. To achieve this, all I did was throw some blue tack inside the head sculpt for the ball joint to connect to, keeping the head in place. Lastly, to really sell the look, it's important to get that left foot flat on the ground to sell the realism on a pose like this. Okay guys, here we have the upgraded suit Spidey from Far From Home. My favourite colour scheme from Tom in the films. For this figure, I had him in a similar crouching pose before like this, but after hitting some poses with the black and gold suit, I decided to repose this guy and make it a mixture of the 3 different looks I had just done. So, some key things to remember if you decide you want to attempt a crouching spider pose like any of these are: be aware of the risks of the suit. They are very stressful poses to the material, so take your time, pose with caution and at your own risk. If you want to keep the suit pristine and are worried about creasing, I wouldn't leave it in a pose like this long term. I have multiple Spider-Man figures and I'm most likely going to leave some of these figures in these poses for a long time. So that's why I'm okay with pushing the limits like this. Remember, viewing angles when building the pose, arm placement, torso twist, foot placement, head placement, and direction the character is looking can all be tweaked in many different ways to create many more different variations, not just what I have done here. Remember, detaching the head so you can get it in the correct position to sell the look. Blue tack works fine and won't damage the inside of the head sculpt from my experience. And last and most important, have fun with the pose if you choose to do it. I personally think a crouching spider pose is a pretty cool, iconic way to display a Spider-Man figure. And that's it guys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed these poses today. If you'd like this style of video too, let me know in the comments below and I'll look to do some more. I thank you all for tuning in, and if you haven't already done so, do us a favour, hit that like button, notification bell and subscribe to the channel. Memberships are also available now, so if you'd like to support in another way, take a look and see if you'd like to join the Iron Legion. Lastly, we got reviews and unboxings, story theme posting showcases, display tips and tricks, plus live streams including The Rundown where we deep dive into film and TV. But for now, until next time guys, I'm out.